What's up, fam? It's me. I'm back. And I just wanted to come and bring y'all some news and some information coming out of Louisville, Kentucky. Yeah, coming out of Kentucky. As this whole Breonna Taylor fiasco keeps going on and on and on, we're finding out more and more stuff. And there's a lot of stuff going on in Louisville that mainstream media is not reporting on. Okay, and you need to know what's going on. You need to know the backstory and some stuff that has jumped off in Louisville since Coon Cameron came out with his announcement. Okay, now as you know, they have released, because the judge ordered it. Cameron's office has released the audio and all of that from the grand jury, and we have found that during this grand jury proceeding, Daniel Cameron did not even mention Breonna Taylor's name. Breonna Taylor's name was not mentioned during this grand jury, right? During those grand jury proceedings, her name wasn't even mentioned. So he didn't talk about Breonna. He didn't talk about what happened to Breonna. He didn't present any evidence as far as the murder of Breonna. Of course, we already know that he didn't even put the option out there for any of the officers to be indicted on any kind of murder charges, not even wanting endangerment charges as far as Breonna Taylor was concerned. Okay. I also found out from listening to a speech by Tamika Mallory. And, you know, even though there's some question about Tamika Mallory, and we've got Kendrick Wilson running around talking about that somehow or another Tamika and My Song and all of them were a part of this whole setup or whatever. I did hear today Tamika Mallory and the speech that she gave as far as Daniel Cameron is concerned. And according to her, Sam Aguirre, who was also one of the family's attorneys, and he's also somebody that Kendrick Wilson is calling out and beefing with right now. But according to her, Sam and Breonna and the other attorneys that were working for Breonna Taylor's family actually got in touch with Daniel Cameron's office and asked Daniel Cameron not to have Tamika's mother. I mean, not to have Breonna's mother. Breonna's mother's name is Tamika Palmer. Not to have Tamika's mother drive all the way from, I think they said it's Frederick or Frederick, Kentucky, or something like that. It starts with an F, which was about an hour away from Louisville, Kentucky. So her legal team got in touch with Daniel Cameron's office and specifically asked that he not have this woman drive over an hour to get to where he was doing this press conference just to hear bad news. That he could call her up. He could pick up the phone and call her up at home and tell her bad news. But not to have her drive, her and her family drive over an hour just to receive bad news and then have to drive back with that bad news. So he was specifically asked this, and he did it anyway. He called her, had her come all the way from this other place in Kentucky, this over an hour drive. He had her come all the way just so she could hear this bad news and drive back home. That's how low down he was in the way he handled this. Okay? But let me stop for a minute. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's staying safe. I hope everybody's being smart. And I hope everybody's paying attention. I hope you're getting this information. I'm not saying that you have to listen to me, but please be listening. If you are a foundational Black American, or if you are Black American, period, and you're interested in the truth and you are conscious, which means you're not only woke, but you are aware. You understand what I'm saying? If you're white and you know, and you have had enough of the oppression of Black people, and you have seen enough. Whoever you may be, wherever you may be from, even if you don't listen to me, please be listening to somebody in the new Black media. I would suggest Tariq Nasheed. I would suggest Jason Black, the Black Authority. I would suggest Boyce Watkins. I would suggest Vicky Dillard. I would suggest Queen, I think her name is Queen Amina. I would suggest Professor Black Truth. Please be listening to somebody. The Advice Show, but with Phil Scott. These are just a few people that I'm throwing out there. But I would suggest what's her name? Jade. I can't think. It's Jade, and Jade was the one that did the MC and the hosting with Tariq at the Foundation of Black American Conference. I would suggest that you just be listening to somebody in the new black media. And I would suggest that you listen to them with an open mind, and that you listen to them understanding that no, you're not going to agree with everything that they say. You may not agree with their delivery all the time. You understand what I'm saying? But they're going to tell you the truth. They're going to tell you the truth. They're going to put down some history on you. Rizza Islam. Listen to these people. You understand what I'm saying? Because mainstream media is just not telling us what's going on. Now they're being silent about some things that are happening in Louisville that I think are a direct result of Cameron's announcement and that whole decision not to indict any of the police officers for what actually happened to Breonna Taylor, right? So you know, just be aware. Just stay aware. Like I said, we've already discussed, we've already defined consciousness, and we've already defined it as not just being woke, but you have to be woke and you have to be aware. Okay? So let's move into some of this. Now, this is just a little something that I found out while I was listening to Tamika, and I wanted to bring it to you because I didn't know this. To listen to her, she didn't know this prior to the day after Cameron made this announcement, and this is very, very interesting, and it goes to show why, with Cameron at the helm, Breonna Taylor got no justice. Right? And not only will Breonna Taylor, with Daniel Cameron as the AG in Kentucky, not only will Breonna Taylor not get any justice, but anybody black who is gunned down, murdered, unarmed person that's brutalized by the police, murdered by the police or whatever, none of them are going to get any justice in Kentucky as long as Daniel Cameron holds that spot as the Attorney General. Okay? So just let me read this to you. Because this tells the whole entire story. I just need to maximize. Now, I got this from ABC 13, WBKO.com. And this was published on September the 27th, 2019. September the 27th, 2019. So just a little over a year ago, right? And let me look and see. Let me look at my calendar and see the date that Daniel Cameron came out with his announcement, because it has some significance. Okay, where's my calendar? Hold on, you guys. I'm finding my calendar. Oh, Jesus, look like my calendar trying to hide from me. Hold on. There it is. Okay. He came out on that Wednesday. So let's go back to September. Was it the 23rd or the 30th? Because it wasn't last Wednesday. It was the Wednesday before. It was Wednesday before last. Okay. This Wednesday was the 7th, yesterday. So it wasn't last Wednesday, which was the 30th. So yeah, it was Wednesday, September the 23rd, was when he came out with this announcement that none of the police officers would be indicted for anything that had anything to do with Breonna Taylor. So almost to the day of when this article came out, almost just 4 days before this article would have come out in 2019, September the 27th, he made his announcement on September the 23rd, 2020. Okay? That's significant. This article was by Corey Macaulay. Like Macaulay Culkin? Yeah, Macaulay. Okay? Fraternal Order of Police endorses Daniel Cameron for Attorney General. I don't even need to read anymore. I do not need to read anything else. That right there tells the story. That right there tells you all you need to know. Along with the fact that he's married white. He's Mitch McConnell's so-called protege, mainly his little pet puppy. He's being endorsed by Donald Trump. Donald Trump is talking about throwing his name on the list of possible Supreme Court candidates. Not to mention all of that, but before any of that, even though he was already Mitch McConnell's boy by this time. But you have him being endorsed by the FOP. And the FOP has got to be the most racist organization in the United States, the Fraternal Order of Police. It is through them that these police get immunity. It is through them that they get all of these attorneys and everything to represent them when they go to court. And it's through them that they get all of these protections and all of that through the Fraternal Order of Police, which is a gang itself. It's a brotherhood. It's a gang. Fraternal Order. Okay? So let's keep reading because I want y'all to hear something. And they got a big picture of him with this big old smile and grin on his face. And he's just smiling and grinning. And then they got a video that you can listen to. But we might listen to it. I don't know. But let me read. Republican candidate for Attorney General Daniel Cameron stopped in Bowling Green Friday to receive an endorsement from the Kentucky Fraternal Order of Police. So let's go back and see what that Friday would have been. Let's see what that Friday would have been. Year 2000. Okay. Let's go to 2019. All right. That Friday would have been the 27th. So that's the day he got the endorsement. So almost to the day, a year after he was endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police, he kept his promise to them. And you're going to hear what his promise was. So let's just hold on a minute here. Hold on, y'all. Let me get my calendar back where it need to be. All right. Cameron told 13 News the endorsement is a testament that the law enforcement community knows where he stands on issues that they face, and they have faith in his ability to lead the state in the role. Let me repeat that. Cameron told 13 News the endorsement is a testament that the law enforcement community knows where he stands on issues that they face, and they have faith in his ability to lead the state in the role. Listen to this now. It's clear to us that he's the man to lead us in the future, said Sean Hilbeck, president of the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 13. We haven't always had that out of that office, and we think that Mr. Cameron will absolutely be hand in hand with us as we enforce the laws of the Commonwealth. He gonna be hand in hand with us. He gonna go along with us. He gonna work with us. Cameron said he entered the race for Attorney General with the focus of the position serving as the chief law enforcement officer. You understand what I'm saying? So now Cameron is letting you know he's no longer a part of the black community or any other community. Now he's law enforcement, and he's chief law enforcement in Kentucky. So he's letting you know right there where his allegiance falls. Now, prior to everything that surrounded this whole Breonna Taylor case, I didn't know that he had clearly been endorsed by the Fraternal Order of the Police. You know, now we suspected because of his cooning, because of his connection with Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump, and because he married white and all of that. We pretty much expected it to be what it was. None of us really expected him to do anything. But now, here is the clear evidence that he has sold out to white supremacy. Because that's all law enforcement is. And that's certainly all the Fraternal Order of Police is. Okay, let's keep going. Does this remind you of anybody? Does this remind you of another AG that we've been dealing a whole lot with and we've been talking about and we've been hearing a whole lot about? Does this remind you of another state attorney general? What about Kamala Harris? And her going around bragging that she was the top cop when she was AG, when she was Attorney General of California. She was the chief law enforcement officer. And in that position, what did she do? What did she do to help black people? What did she do to help foundational black Americans? Not a thing, but she did a whole lot to hurt them. So here you got another one. You got Daniel Cameron is Kamala Harris 2.0. I'm going to read that again. Cameron said he entered the race for Attorney General with the focus of the position serving as the chief law enforcement officer. He addressed several challenges the state is facing, including the drug epidemic. Now, we're talking about 2019. What drug epidemic are we talking about? Are we talking about the opioid epidemic? Are we talking about the meth epidemic? Because crack ain't really no big issue no more. So what drug epidemic was he supposed to be talking about? He addressed several challenges the state is facing, including the drug epidemic across the Commonwealth, in which he believes the state needs a multifaceted approach to tackling. That when you talk about the epidemic, it's better to talk about it as the drug epidemic. I know for a long time, we've sort of talked about the opioid epidemic, but it's much larger than that. We are starting to see a resurgence, if you will, with crystal meth being brought in by Mexican drug cartels. Cameron said as Attorney General, he would increase the staff in the Department of Criminal Investigations to tackle the drug epidemic. Okay, but all of this stuff about Breonna and all of this stuff that came about Breonna, did it look like, and that was supposed to be a narcotics unit. Did it look like they were concerned about opioids and meth and amphetamines and crystal meth? Black folks don't deal in crystal meth. Black folks don't deal much in opioids. So it looked to me like the people they were investigating were not the community over there that has the most to do with crystal meth and opioids. Looked to me like they're still over here trying to place all the drug stuff on the black community. And I just want to throw this in here. I just thought about this. I just want to throw this in here. As more and more information is coming out and all this, they pulling up telephone calls and all of this that Jamarcus Glover did from jail. And, he kept talking about Breonna was holding his money, and a couple of times Breonna had bailed him out of jail and all of that. But this was the thing that I want y'all to think about. Now, remember, this is supposed Jamarcus Glover now. This is the same one that D.A. Wine tried to get to implicate Breonna and say that she was a part of this big drug syndicate, right? So they trying to make it like Jamarcus Glover was some kind of big major drug dealer. You know, like he was just running big drug and he was pushing big weights and all of this. Let me tell y'all this. Do y'all know how much Jamarcus Glover's bond was? The bond from him being arrested the same day or night or whatever that Breonna was murdered. Do you know how much the man's bond was? The man's bond was $1,000. This big major kingpin drug dealer that was running this big huge drug syndicate, and they talking about giving him 10 years, and if he'll just implicate Breonna or say that Breonna was a part of this or a part of that they would look at giving him probation and all of this. This man's bond, his actual bond, was $1,000. I'm going to let that sink in. And for any of y'all that know anything about drugs, that know anything about running drugs, that know anything about dealing drugs, that know anything about serious drug charges, I want y'all to think about somebody who has been arrested multiple times for this whole drug dealing thing. His bond was $1,000. And he on the phone, big major drug dealer now. He on the phone calling around trying to get somebody that could come up with $1,000 to bond him out. So I just wanted to throw that in there. Okay? I just wanted to throw that in there. Cameron said as Attorney General, he would increase the staff in the Department of Criminal Investigations to tackle the drug epidemic. He also mentioned he wants to increase the presence of the Attorney General's office throughout the state. Cameron also addressed the lawsuit challenging his eligibility for Attorney General, saying it is a ploy by the Stumbo campaign, and he does have the 8 years experience necessary to be qualified for the role. Well, obviously, I didn't know that either, but obviously somebody was challenging it, and somebody was, and somebody had brought a lawsuit to keep him from running for Attorney General, it appears to be. Okay? But what I want y'all to hear, and here he is, all with his Facebook post and all of this, proud to be endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police. Remember, we had Renee Hall out there in Texas, and Judge Tammy the Mammy. All of them had been endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police. Kamala Harris, endorsed by the Fraternal Order of the Police. Okay? Now, this was Cameron's acceptance speech, or this is what he said, after he had received the endorsement. It is a great honor to receive the endorsement of the bipartisan Kentucky Fraternal Order of Police. To the men and women in blue, I pledge to be your advocate and your voice every day. I pledge to be your advocate and your voice every day. Now, this is as a state attorney general. I'm not going to advocate for victims. I'm not going to advocate for people who are being mistreated or have suffered injustices. No, I'm going to advocate for the police, and I'm going to be your voice every day. When I first got into this race, I did so to bring focus to the public safety challenge of our lifetime, the drug crisis. So in his mind, the drug crisis is the public safety, not white supremacy, not racism, not police brutality, not police officers going around killing and murdering unarmed people, but the drug crisis. Remind you of anything? Nixon started with the war on drugs. Reagan came along and picked it up, the war on drugs. Then Clinton came and pushed it even further, the war on drugs, which led to the 1994 crime bill that Joe Biden authored, which led to what we see now as mass incarceration. And that whole war on drugs lie, which was simply a war on black folks and a war on black communities, it was a bipartisan thing. It started with the Republicans. It was the Democrats that kicked it into high gear. And there is so much work to be done to fight this epidemic. I am humbled to have this endorsement. And as chief law enforcement officer in Kentucky, I will work every day to make sure our communities are safer and our families and citizens more secure. Now, there was his acceptance speech after being endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police. I pledge to be your advocate and your voice every day. So even before the Breonna case got on his desk, he already knew what he was going to do. It was already decided what he was going to do. And he kept his promise to them. He kept the promise that he had made them almost a year before. That he would advocate for them, and he would be their voice for them, and he would work hand in hand with them, and he would stand with them no matter what. And that's exactly what he did. Which is just another piece of evidence that whole grand jury proceeding was just a farce. It was just a lie. It was just a show. So that he could try to use that to say, no. It was the grand jury that decided that they wouldn't indict. But because you had one grand juror that was like, oh, no, you're not going to drop this at our feet. The truth, more and more of the truth is coming out. But now you see, and that's another reason why he should never have been handed this case. Because those who handed him this case already knew that he had been endorsed by the FOP, and they already knew that he was in their pocket. They already knew exactly what he was going to do. And I believe, now Tamika Mallory seems to believe that 65 years ago in 1955, on the exact day that Cameron made his announcement, they announced that they weren't going to press any charges, or no. They announced that the white men that had killed Emmett Till could go free. So Tamika is thinking that maybe that was the reason why he waited 6 months and he chose that particular day to come out with his announcement. I'm thinking it's more he waited that long and he chose that particular day so that it would be even closer to the time when the police had endorsed him. And that announcement was his way of letting the Fraternal Order of Police, or rather white supremacy, know I'm on your team 100%. You ain't got to worry about me. I'm on your team 100%. I told you a year ago that I would advocate for you, that I would be your voice. And here a year later, I'm letting you know that I still stand in that spot. So I just thought that was real interesting. I'm glad something told me to listen to Tamika's speech, because it was her speech that led me to this information that I'm bringing you now. And I will have that speech linked in the description box so that you can hear it. I got all this information that I'm bringing you today from that speech. That's the reason why I don't watch mainstream media news anymore. Now, I might go to it and I might get a post or an article or something like that from the Washington Post or from the New York Post or the New York Times or CNN or something like that. But as far as just really paying attention to mainstream media, don't do it anymore, because mainstream media is not letting us know what's really going on. If mainstream media can't use it to push the narrative that it wants to push, or can't use it as some form of propaganda, then you won't hear about it on mainstream media. But yes, Daniel Cameron was endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police in Kentucky, and he let them know right here in his acceptance speech. And I'll have this linked in the description box so you can go and you can listen to the video and all of that. But you'll see, he lets them know right here in his acceptance speech that he pledges to advocate for them and to be a voice for them every day. And he talks about how honored he is to be considered the chief law enforcement officer in Kentucky. So Daniel is no longer black. Daniel is blue. And he proved, he let them know that he was blue. Just like Kamala Harris. Now, let's move on. Now, I wonder how many of you knew that last week a black man was shot in Kentucky at a Shell station. How many of you knew that just last week, a black man was shot in Kentucky, in Louisville, Kentucky, at a gas station? That's not something that mainstream media is running. Mainstream media is not talking about that, right? I wouldn't have known about it if I had not, again, been looking through the new black media and saw this clip of Tamika Mallory's speech. Okay, I got this from WLKY.com. Store clerk arrested in shooting at downtown Louisville gas station. Police say shots were fired following an argument with a customer. Louisville Metro Police are investigating a shooting early Thursday at a downtown gas station. It happened just after 1 a.m. at Batters located at 1st and Jefferson Streets. And for anybody who's listening to me that's from Kentucky, that lives in Louisville, or that knows anybody that lives in Louisville or whatever, the protesters down there, Tamika and the protesters down there in Louisville are calling for a boycott of this Batters Shell that's there located on the at 1st and Jefferson Streets in Louisville, Kentucky. They're calling for a boycott. And I'll tell you the reason why in a minute. It'll become clear. Police say one person was taken to the hospital in a private vehicle with a gunshot wound. The victim told police he got into an argument with the store clerk when the clerk shot him. And y'all will see a picture of the clerk in the article. I might put it up in the video. And the picture of him will tell you all you need to know. His name is Charles Moore, and he's 38 years old. Police say that clerk later admitted to shooting. He's been identified as Charles Moore, 38. Moore is now charged with second-degree assault. Second-degree assault. Not attempted murder. Not first-degree assault, but second-degree assault for shooting somebody. For shooting somebody who was unarmed that he had just had an argument with. I wonder why. It's just second degree. Could it possibly have anything to do with the fact that he shot a black man? He told police the victim had thrown items at him prior to the shooting. The victim's condition was not immediately available. Second degree assault for shooting an unarmed person. And your defense, I guess, was he was throwing items at you. So you felt like your life was threatened, I guess. You know, that's always their excuse. I felt like my life was threatened. So you shoot somebody that's throwing store items at you, you shoot them with a rifle. But then you only get charged with second degree assault. Now that's it. That's all on that story. Less than half a page. All right. Let's go over here to WDRB.com. Let's see if they have anything more to say. Because it looks to me like it should be more to it than that. Gas station employee in downtown Louisville charged with shooting customer. September the 3rd, 2020, updated September the 16th, 2020. Police have arrested an employee of Batter's Food Mart in downtown Louisville after they say he admitted to shooting a customer with a rifle early Thursday morning. According to LMPD spokesman Dwight Mitchell, officers were called to the store in the 300 block of South 1st Street after the suspect, 28-year-old. They didn't even got the age wrong. Because you can look at this man and tell ain't nowhere in the world he no 28 years old. 38-year-old Charles Moore called 911 to report trouble with the customer. About 7 minutes later, Mitchell says officers was flagged down at University Hospital after a shooting victim was brought in by a private vehicle who said he had been shot at Batters. The victim told police he had been arguing with a store employee who shot him after he left the store. But now you remember, he was only charged with second-degree assault. After interviewing Moore, police say he admitted to firing a rifle. Moore told police he and the victim had been arguing and the victim threw items before Moore shot him. Moore is charged with second-degree assault. That's it. And these are the only two sources that I found for this particular story. So mainstream media is not reporting this. Mainstream media is not letting you know all the stuff that's going on in Louisville. Right? Okay, but let's take this a little bit further. Now we're going to go to thedailybeast.com. Now this is by James Sevo. This is by Jerry Sevo James and Matt Taylor, national editor. Updated September the 24th, 2020. Let me wet my throat a little bit. Who invited the far-right Oath Keepers to downtown Louisville? Members of the heavily armed Oath Keepers claim owners of a troubled gas station and pawn shop asked them for protection. The reality is complicated. On Wednesday night, at least 20 members of the Oath Keepers, a far-right militia group, were observed guarding storefronts in downtown Louisville amid sometimes violent unrest over the lack of charges in the police killing of Breonna Taylor. The businesses include Barber's Food Mart, which is also a Shell gas station, Stewart's Pawn Shop, and Hampton Inn downtown Louisville, all at or near the intersection of Jefferson and South 1st Street. All of the businesses beside the hotel appeared to be closed at the time. And I would suggest, although Tamika didn't suggest this, I would suggest that you think a little bit differently about going to Hampton Inn. I don't care where it is. I don't care whether it's in Louisville or where it is. I think you should think about going to Hampton, reconsider staying at Hampton Inn. Because somebody in a much higher position had to authorize these white militias so-called defending their business. Okay? But let's just listen. The heavily armed men, many bearing rifles, night vision goggles, and wearing camouflage, were seen on the roof of Stewart's Pawn Shop, the perimeter of the Shell station, and in the Hampton Inn parking lot. When asked why they were present, one militia member, who gave his name only as Angry SpongeBob, said the owner of the Shell had received threats against the business. She was told that people wanted to burn it down to the ground. He told the Daily Beast, "We know her, and so we came out to help protect it, because if it goes up, then it takes a significant portion of this block with it." He didn't tell, and nobody else is telling the reason why it was so hot at that Shell station. The reason why it was so hot at that Shell station, and the reason why protesters had went in. Well, he's not telling it right here. They tell it that a little later on down in the article. But we know the reason why protesters had went in there. He didn't clarify who she referred to, but records filed with the Kentucky Secretary of State's office list Paula T. Batter as the president, secretary, and treasurer of Batter's Food Mart, and she has been identified as the owner in local media reports. In a telephone conversation Thursday, a purported leader of the Oath Keepers on the ground in Louisville, who gave his name as Mike Whip, said they had been invited by Barber to keep tabs on her business as well as the pawn shop. According to Whip, Barber told us she was targeted by activists. Barber could not immediately be reached for comment, but the food mart does have a history of violence and of drawing activist ire. In July, an employee was reportedly shot during an armed robbery attempt, and early this month, an employee reportedly shot a customer after a verbal altercation, according to local police. The individual was fired and later charged with assault. Just assault now. This is Charles Moore that they're talking about. On September the 4th, a day after the employee shot a customer, activists with megaphones entered the store, leading Barber to close the place for several days. He was wrong, she told local outlet WDRB of her fired employee, but she also seemed to take umbrage at the presence of being targeted by local activists. Okay, well, of course you're going to be targeted. Not only do you have an employee shooting a black man for no reason, talking about he threw items at him. You got all this going on with all the unrest that's already going on because of what's going on with Breonna Taylor. And then on top of that, you got a white supremacist militia group. Really? They were waiting on customers, she said. The next thing they know, the store is full of people with megaphones. That day, an account listed under Barber's name posted on Facebook. This is the damage, looting, and peaceful protesting that occurred at my store, Barber's Food Mart, last night. Do you notice the small children? SHM. When asked Thursday about the presence of the far-right militia group, a man who identified himself as the manager of Stewart's pawn shop and gave only the first name Jeremy told the Daily Beast, I just work during the day from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and have no idea if our owners made a deal with those guys. So these are all the businesses that black folks and anybody who stands against injustice, stands against white supremacy, stands against police violence, everybody need to be boycotting these places. These are places that need to be boycotted because you showing that you standing with white supremacy when you fooling with these white militia groups, because all of them are white supremacists. When asked about the Shell station, he added, I do know if it burns, it will harm a lot of people in the city. Shell corporate did not immediately respond to a request for comment. So what is that telling you about Shell? Because you see how quick when the EMT came out and said what he said about Sergeant Mattingly, you see how quick that Norton or whatever name of it, healthcare company came out and said that his views are not, that this does not express the views of our healthcare. But Shell ain't coming out saying, okay, well, this is not something that we go along with or blah, blah, blah. Reached for comment Thursday, Stuart Stein, who is listed in state records as an incorporator of the pawn shop, confirmed he was an owner, but told the Daily Beast, no comment, talk to someone at the store. Attempts to reach other individuals listed on incorporation paperwork were unsuccessful. So see, nobody wants to claim this white militia group now because they didn't think that they would have to answer for this. For her part, Mindy Wilson, general manager of Hampton Inn downtown, told the Daily Beast of the militia, "We don't know anything about them, so you can stop calling." She lying because she wouldn't have been that hostile if she didn't know anything about them. Hilton Corporate did not immediately respond to a request for comment. So anything that has anything to do with the Hilton Inn, the Hampton Inn, anything Hilton, black folks, we need to boycott it. Because if they were against these white militias being there, talking about to protect something, they would have spoke out on it. Now, I ain't finished. Oath Keepers are a virulently anti-government group founded in 2009 by Stuart Rhodes, a former Ron Paul aide. They have been a fixture at protests and political hotspots in recent years, from Ferguson to Trump rallies, and have been banned from Twitter after peddling conspiracy theories expressing thirst for civil war. Followers have also been implicated in a slew of violent crimes in recent years, from bomb scares to threats against the government to rape. According to the Southern Poverty Law Center, members of the Oath Keepers group in Louisville claimed they were made up of patriots, and you know patriots is just another word for white supremacists. Patriots, Kentuckians, Louisville residents, former and retired members of the military, firefighters, and law enforcement who were merely trying to protect their community. The member, who identified himself as Angry SpongeBob, expressed condolences to the family of Taylor, a 26-year-old emergency medical technician who was fatally shot during a botched attempt. It was not a botched attempt. They killed me with that, trying to act like what happened to Breonna Taylor was just a mistake, was just something that they botched up. No, they intentionally went in there and killed her. They executed her. SpongeBob said burning the city down was misguided and unfair to the public. There was no evidence of this taking place, of anybody trying to burn the city down, despite sporadic small fires in garbage cans on Wednesday. So that's the only burning that we've seen is a few garbage cans, small garbage cans set on fire. So how does that equate to burning the city down? Go to Frankfurt. Go to City Hall. Don't take out frustrations on private business owners, SpongeBob told the Daily Beast, blaming the lawlessness on elected officials like Attorney General Daniel Cameron, who declined to charge any cop for killing Taylor. Don't just point the finger at Cameron. You got to point the finger at the rest of them crooked ass police. Point the finger at that crooked ass Tom Wine in the county DA's office. Don't just point the finger at Cameron now. As they often have at protests in recent weeks, the militiamen seem to operate. Listen to this very carefully. As they often have at protests in recent weeks, the militiamen seem to operate without harassment from law enforcement. At least in the hours the Daily Beast observed them after the 9 p.m. curfew on Wednesday. And when you go back and listen to Tamika, that's what Tamika will be talking about. The 120-some people that were arrested for being out past curfew. But these militiamen, these white militiamen, are able to be all over the place after curfew, and they are untouched. That's how you know that there is coordination, that there is cooperation, and there is connection between these white militias and these white supremacist group and law enforcement. The day as they have often as they often have at protests in recent weeks. The militiamen seem to operate without harassment from local law enforcement, at least in the hours the Daily Beast observed them after the 9 p.m. curfew on Wednesday. Louisville Metro Police and the Kentucky National Guard did not immediately respond to requests for comment. So the Daily Beast wants to know, okay, why is it that can't nobody else be out and you arrest anybody else that's out, but these militiamen, these white militiamen can walk around and float around and move around without having to worry about being harassed or molested or arrested or anything else after the 9 o'clock curfew. Meanwhile, police said they made 123 arrests, mostly for unlawful assembly and curfew violations on Wednesday. But the Daily Beast is clearly letting you know these militiamen running around after 9 o'clock, after curfew, and they ain't being bothered. At least 3 journalists were reported to be among the 123 that were arrested. So even journalists can't do their job. Even journalists can't be out past curfew, but these white militiamen can. And we ain't heard about this. At least 2 officers were also shot during the chaos. Wonder who shot them. Guarantee you it wasn't no protesters. It was probably some of them militiamen shot them. Whip, the Oath Keeper spokesperson, suggested there was no reason for his group to catch flack for being out past curfew. Why? You out past curfew. You disobeying the direct order just like anybody else that's out past curfew. So why is there no reason for your group not to catch flack? This despite increased scrutiny of the seemingly cozy ties between armed vigilantes and police after 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse, who shot and killed 2 protesters in Kenosha, Wisconsin in August, walked by cops unbothered shortly after he killed 2 people. On the streets that night, Rittenhouse had attached himself to what amounted to an armed gang of militiamen, vigilantes. We generally, now this is Whip talking to the Daily News, we generally don't have trouble with the police. But now the Daily Beast just got finished telling you up in the article that these people are virulently anti-government. You understand what I'm saying? And that their followers and members have been implicated in a slew of violent crimes. Bomb scares, threats against the government, to rape. They go to these protests and they stir up and they educate all kinds of trouble and violence. But we generally don't have trouble with the police. Of course you don't. Of course you don't. Because you work hand in hand with the police. We generally don't have trouble from the police, Whip told the Daily Beast. Police did perceive one of our members as a threat, but we calmed them down and stated our purpose. So you so-called being there to protect these white-owned businesses is more important than folks' right to protest. And I guess maybe the reason why this article wasn't favoring the white supremacy and wasn't trying to kiss ass or whatever is because this Jerry Sebo James is actually a black dude. He's actually a black dude. So this is the reason why Tamika suggested that that all the black people in Louisville boycott this batter shell station. It's because she's made it clear that she has aligned herself with white supremacy. By doing this thing, whatever it was, she, with getting them there and inviting them to come and say they watching her business and all of that kind of stuff. And like I said, I would go as far as to say that you not only boycott that batters shell station, but that you also boycott anything that's got Hilton's name on it. Since Hampton Inns couldn't come out and say, okay, and the Hilton corporate office couldn't come out and say, well, we don't condone this. We don't condone white militia. We didn't invite them there to protect anything. We'll see. I mean, they could at least made some kind of statement, but they didn't even respond to requests for a comment or a statement. So see, we need to be, as foundational black Americans, we need to be knowing these corporations and these different companies and all of that won't speak out against this stuff. And we need to be boycotting these places. We don't need to be giving them folks our money. And we finding out that they secretly supporting white supremacy and white supremacist group and far right groups and all of that. But I just wanted to bring y'all this information and let y'all know that things are still heated up in Louisville. There's still stuff going on in Louisville. The racism, the white supremacy in Louisville is still right in your face. Daniel Cameron, I just wanted you to see, and now you understand. You understand there can be no doubt about it now, where his allegiance is. Some of us already knew, but for those who talk about he was just doing his job or whatever the case may be, now you know where his allegiance was. Now you know that before he ever got the first lick of evidence, you understand what I'm saying? He had already decided what he was going to do. He already knew what he was going to do. And he waited all that time to make that announcement because he was trying to get closer and closer and closer to that year anniversary of when the Fraternal Order of Police had first endorsed him. And to be so low down and cold when he was specifically asked not to do it. To be so low down and cold and have this mother and her family drive for over an hour to get there only to receive bad news when he was asked. Don't have her do that. If you got bad news for her, call her up on the phone and tell her privately. But see, he had to make his statement. He had to make his statement in front of white supremacy that I'm all in. You ain't got to worry. I'm all in. I'm not concerned about anybody's feelings. I'm not concerned about the truth. I'm not concerned about justice. I'm not concerned about any of that. I'm only concerned about letting you know that you got my allegiance 100%. This is what's going on in our streets. This is what we got to deal with in the country that we built. In the nation that we built. In the nation that our ancestors built and laid the foundation for. This is what we have to deal with. And with all this going on, who the hell gives a damn about talking about voting? We've been voting for 50 plus years and we still dealing with the same shit we've been dealing with. Ain't nothing changed. Ain't now vote changed nothing. Whether it was a vote on the Republican side or whether it was a vote on the Democrat side. Now vote has changed anything for us. And now everybody is exposing themselves. Everybody is coming out and letting it be known that they just don't give a damn. One way or the other. So y'all get down in this description box. Like I said, I will have these articles linked in the description box along with the speech from Tamika Mallory. I will have all of that linked in the description box. Rizza Islam did a very, very good live where he talks about politics. He talks about voting, what voting really means, what politics is really all about, and how it's basically just a game. And we just been playing the game. Instead of playing the game, we've been letting the game play us for the last 50 some years. And I think what I'm going to do is, I think I'm just going to upload that live on the channel so you guys can hear him say what he got to say in his own words. I'm not even going to bother with putting that in a description box. I'm just going to upload that video so that you can hear him. And please hear him. And when you hear him, understand that he's not the first one to say it. He's not the only one saying it. That Dr. Claude Anderson and others have been telling us exactly what you'll hear Rizza saying. Dr. Claude Anderson been telling us this stuff for 30, 40 years. Especially about politics and voting and protesting and marching and all of that. You know, now I got mixed feelings as far as Tamika's concerned. You understand what I'm saying? I got some mixed feelings. But when you're telling the truth, you're telling the truth. I don't care I don't care how mixed my feelings might be. When you're telling the truth, you're telling the truth. I don't care who you are. I really don't even care what side of the fence you on. When you're telling the truth, you're telling the truth. And I got to give it to you for the truth's sake. The truth ain't got nothing to do with who telling it. The truth is the truth, no matter who telling it. And she's speaking the truth, so that's the reason why that link to her speech will be in the description box. Because she's speaking nothing but truth. See, that's what we got to get out of. As a collective, as a people, we got to get out of being caught up in personalities and being caught up in whether we like people or not, or being caught up in all of this. We got to agree with somebody all the time. And no. We got to get out of that. And we got to pay attention to what people are saying. We got to pay attention to that message. And we got to pay attention to whether or not these people have produced for us as a collective. Just like they say, a lie don't care who tell it. Well, in all honesty, the truth don't care who tell it, as long as the truth gets told. So all of this information will be linked in the description box. And, and after y'all see this video and study this video a little bit, go back and listen to what Tamika said and read these articles and all of that. And then a little later on, I'll upload what Rizza had to say. You understand what I'm saying? So y'all can get a whiff of all of that truth too. But please like this video. Y'all come and pick up them likes a little bit. So we can kind of grow the channel a little bit so people can be aware of what's going on. So please like the video. Please share the video. Share it on your social media and all of that. And of course, please have these conversations. Please share this information. Please have these conversations with family, friends, co-workers, the folks you hang around with, or whatever. Because the more we talk, we got to keep talking. We got to keep talking to each other. We got to keep sharing information with each other. And we've got to keep growing our awareness. And then we've got to start doing some stuff. You understand what I'm saying? We've got to start doing some stuff. And Rizza has some solutions in his video, as he always has solutions in his video, just like Tariq. At the end of all of the hidden colors, he always has this solutions section, or sections of solutions of things that we need to be doing. Okay? So please share. Please share. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. For those of you who are subscribed, you already know how I feel about you. You already know how much I appreciate you and how much I love you. So thank you so much. hit that bell notification so you can be notified when we upload. But yeah, y'all get in this description box and understand that mainstream media is not telling us what's going on. So we have got to start looking outside of mainstream media so that we can get the real about what's really going on in the world around us, and understand they might be trying to put on this front or trying to put on this good face that, you know, it's all over with and everything is calm in Louisville or whatever, and you ain't got to deal with nothing but the protesting, and that's going to die down pretty soon or whatever. No. Louisville, Kentucky is still a hotbed. And the reason why mainstream media is not focusing on it and not telling you what's going on is because mainstream media thinks, well, maybe, just maybe, if we don't report on anything, if we don't tell them anything, you know, the interest in it will die out and the whole story will just go away. No, we're not going to let it go away. We're not going to let it go away. You understand what I'm saying? We're not going to let it go away. We're going to keep it in their face. And I agree with one thing Tamika said. You understand what I'm saying? We're going to make these streets of Louisville, Kentucky real uncomfortable. And she sounded a lot like Jason Black when he said, if we got to be uncomfortable, then everybody going to be uncomfortable. So y'all be looking forward to the RZA video, which will be coming, if not later on tonight, sometime tomorrow. I'll post that RZA video so y'all can hear what he had to say. But that's what I had to bring y'all tonight. Y'all have a good night. Stay safe. Stay smart. Please stay on code. And if you're not on code, get on code. If you don't know what being on code means, then go back and look through my channel until you get to that Black consciousness video, and it'll explain it to you. And y'all be good.